Let's talk about my new favorite thing to read about on the internet. People bitching about how the Icon has ruined their home resort or their mountain. The Icon Pass is not... It's maybe a year old now since they announced it. And and it's been an insanely amazing winter for the U.S.
A lot of the resorts that are on there.
They got hit hard. But... someone tried to tell me that the Icon ruined Copper Mountain this year. I've lived here.
Copper ruined Copper Mountain this year. They married a lift in the middle of the freaking winter.
They decided to, Copper ruined itself this year. Let's just be real. Fucking trying to do 2 chairlifts at once while their Letner Poma was doing 9 chairlifts in North America or something stupid like that.
Yep.
No resort's ever done 2 chairlifts at the same time like that, and they did it. But yeah, so this guy was trying to tell me that the Icon has ruined Copper Mountain. That is bullshit. One, because... Completely, because I've had more days where I haven't waited in line there than I have at A Basin with my A Basin only pass. 2, I've never waited in line like I did at Breck with an Epic. 3... it's just a record snow year. People were going to come anywhere. But it's funny. I've seen people bitching in Jackson and other places. They're like, because of Icon Pass, it took away all of our affordable housing, and it did this, and it did this, and it did this. And I'm sitting here going, well, you guys only get 7 days on the Icon Pass. So why don't we really look at the bigger issue here, which is your town leadership sucked, and no one adapted to the sharing economy, which is Airbnb, VRBO, and things like that. As well as no companies, like you want to bitch about wages. Icon Pass didn't affect your fucking wages. The companies you work for did not grow or share their profits. They wanted more profits and they knew they could pay you less, or you did not negotiate your wage better. And let's be real here. After the economy tanked, there were people that had money to buy all those bad mortgages and shit and foreclosures, and they jumped on it.
Oh, yeah.
So they jumped on these things, and they were savvy enough to realize, hey, we can rent these short-term and make more than we can long-term. That's free market and capitalism at its finest. I lost my one apartment here to that. I understand it. It sucks, but it's funny when I hear people being like, it's just so crowded and you don't know what it's like. And I'm like, I live in Breckenridge, motherfucker, the most visited ski resort in North America. More people come to this county than anywhere else. A busy weekend can be 80,000 people. Our year-round residence in Breckenridge is 2,280.
Which, let's circle back really quick here with Jackson. I was actually I spent a year there, and pre-Icon, I'm so fucking cool, man. And it's just one of those things where even the guys there, when we were staying out on the pass, we're talking, and bitching about it a little bit. And we actually sat and we had about a podcast length talk on what the Icon is and everything. And it's one of those things, like you said, it's 7 days.
It's a travel pass.
So 5 to 7 days. Complain that you can, you have these people flock into your mountain. I would love to see the numbers of how many actual Icon passes were sold, and then how many of those days of those people went to Jackson. I'm doubting that 60 to 70%, I would bet on the high side, went and used days there, let alone all of them.
Right.
And it's one of those things where, if you get back to, once again, what me and my buddies are talking about, what is the Icon Pass? As you said, it's a travel pass. So it's not just a travel pass. It's very spread out in offering its full. If it offers unlimited days, it does it across the whole country very well.
Yeah.
Which the Epic doesn't necessarily do when it starts going out east further and further. It's kind of weaker and weaker.
Well, so the way I look at Icon as being someone that has had an Epic and an Icon.
Yes.
If you have a home mountain and it's unlimited, that's great. But then when you get your bonus days, elsewhere, it's an added perk. Like when I went to Utah, I was able to hit Brighton and Solitude. I got 1 day at each. Went to Powmount, went to Park City and Canyons while I was out there. But I went 1 day to each one. And it really isn't affecting much. And, you know, all these people are like, no, it's taking away all of our housing and shit. No, you know what's taking away your housing? Is the fact that you don't have a rent control. Your town council didn't institute a rent control. That there weren't people that instituted that there needs to be length of terms on leases so that people don't run them like a hotel. That's what it is. Summit County is figuring it out. Like everyone is. It's also just people. It's the standard thing of people not adapting to new technology and new things. It's like when Uber came out and Lyft came out and the taxi union was fucking up in arms, and they still are about that. But it's, you know, it's the sharing economy. Yep. That it's 10 years deep. That is what's instituting. Well, you got some sun today.
Did I?
Oh yeah. But it's the sharing economy. And I mean, let's look at it this way. Let's say you want to buy a second home somewhere. You've got the money to do it. Okay, you buy that house. Now let's say, do you rent to a local, or do you? Let's say you're not super ultra wealthy. Let's say you have enough to buy a second home, but you need to rent that. Do you rent?
Yeah.
Do you rent that to 7 or 8 dirtbags, even though it's a 3-bedroom, and you make $1,800, $2,500 off that a month, or do you rent it for $100 a night, peak season, and make the same doing that, or $200, $300?
Exactly.
You know, you can make more money. It makes more sense. Then you can pay the house off sooner.
Yep. And then better yet, a lot of these kids that are filling it, and I mean, gone are the days of 6, 8 crammed into 4 bedrooms. Most places have that under control now, and it's one of those things where if it's done illegally, obviously. You know, they don't know about it in any fashion, but nobody wants 8 trying to make it dudes in the,
or that just want to party,
or that just want to
shred, and they don't care about paying their bills on time,
taking care of the house. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had roommates where, you know, you're like, all right, I think he's going to come through this month, and it would worry me if it was my ass not being able to pay my mortgage and then live the life I deserve, because
or the life you created.
I rented it out to locals like I should, and I was, you know, the local supporter, if you will, in that sense. Or would you rather me make a bunch of money, pay it off, and then maybe I do not care to rent it out to
it just
a bunch
stays
of dirtbags?
Maybe it just stays vacant.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many houses I've wanted to just, I think I could park here tonight.
There's plenty of those you could just park there tonight. But it's like, so every place I've lived in, except for one in this county, I've lived in multiple years, re-signed the lease, did everything. My one place I lived in for 7 years. When I moved in, it was hilarious because the guys that lived there before had crammed like bunk beds into it was a 2-bedroom. Bunk beds, I think at one point they had like 7 or 8 people in 480 square feet. 480 square feet is really tiny. And the people that lived underneath me, when I moved in, they were like, oh my God, it's a snowboard bomb. They're going to party. They're going to do everything. Blah, 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 blah. This is going to be awful. They didn't hear anything out of me for 2 months. And then finally they were like, have you been gone? I was like, no, I've been there the whole time. And they're like, it's so quiet. And I was like, well, it's just me and one other guy. Like, that's how it should be.
Exactly.
And when I moved into this place, my neighbors, they're older, they're retired. They were like worried that we were going to be rowdy snowboard bums. Once again, a month went by. They didn't hear anything and finally saw us walking in and were like, you guys been gone? No, we've been here. They're like, you're so quiet. And I was like, well, yeah, why wouldn't we be?
We're busy riding
and living our lives and not being dirtbags. But I also know that I've got a hidden gem.
Hey, respect that word.
Scumbags. Sorry.
There
Scumbag.
we go. Scumbag, yeah. That's.
But I mean, how many times have you been to a house that's like someone's living, like they've got blankets draped over the kitchen table and that's their bedroom in there. Someone's living in a pantry. Another person's living in like in a broom closet.
I can't count it on my hands and feet.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, and
I was a part of one of those. I first
I've done it once.
Moved up to Breck and lived in a place where the 3 dudes that originally moved in decided they'll live in the master together on twin mattresses together in a 1-bedroom. And then we had, that was on the Baldy Mountain townhomes, and we had, I think, 2 more bedrooms and then a loft and a den. And I think altogether, yeah, we had 6.
6.
Because I was up in the loft, and then we had 2 in the other bed, 1 in each other bedroom.
But it's the whole point. Like, you can't...
In a gala
Yeah.
kitchen.
But here's the thing. You can't blame the Icon Pass for people coming. It's been a good snow year. People were probably going to come regardless.
Yes.
Imagine if Icon had come out last year when it was a bad snow year. How many people would be bitching?
Dude.
They would be the same people that would be like, no one's coming. I hope these Icon people would come and spend money. You can't use it as your scapegoat because you need it. And the other thing that pissed me off is like a lot of people that were bitching about Jackson, I was like, your summer tourism is way worse than your winter tourism.
Exactly.
Like, my parents drove through there last year to come down to visit me when they were coming back from Washington. And you know how there's the arch with all the antlers and shit?
Yep.
My dad wanted to go get a photo taken with it, and
Lord.
it was impossible. He walked over, saw how bad it was, got in the car. They were going to spend the night in Jackson. They drove from Jackson all the way down to here to see me. They just drove straight through.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Because they were like, we've never seen anything that chaotic.
And if there's one thing in Jackson that is a problem, they do stuff 8 to 10 people in their Airbnb, and they stuff them heavy instead of what can even really occupy the place.
Well, I'm not saying
because that's all they have, because the hotels there are few and far between.
So, I mean, yeah, so that's the other thing is, like, if you don't have the infrastructure, and you can't necessarily blame Airbnb so much for people cramming 8 to 10 in there. It's like a whole series.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole series of things. Like, if there's a demand, if you're really going to blame anything, you should be blaming fucking Kanye for having his concert up there and anything that drives people
to They didn't like that when I've heard.
Yeah, but still, I mean, how many times did that suddenly cause people to have money to be like, we should get a place here? Then they buy a place.
Exactly.
And, you know, that's the thing is, like, you will live the income inequality gap in any ski town unless you hustle hard and you figure out how to make money and you are willing to sacrifice. And it is tough. It might take you 5, 10, 15 years to get there, but if you hustle hard enough, it will pay for itself. It will pan out. Like, right now, I'm looking at buying a rental property. Not here, but probably Leadville. Will I long-term or short-term it? I don't know. It depends. Like, if I go more towards Twin Lakes, where there's hunters and there's the snowmobilers, yeah, I'll fucking short-term that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Hunters want it. A whole group, 10 dudes that are going to drink beer and go kill animals. I'll be like, I don't give a fuck. I'll be like, leave me some meat in the fridge and it's yours. I'll be like,
exactly.
You know, fucking, I'll let you guys do it. But it's, you know, after struggling, yeah, I would love to rent to a local, but the problem is, how many people move here and realize how tough it is and they're trying to break their lease after 6 months, so then they're doing that, or, you know, they don't understand that, I have to take care of the trash, and then they just let it accumulate. I know people that left a whole winter season's worth of trash in their garage and then moved out.
Yep. I've had it happen because everybody wasn't down to pay trash.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out, you know, who is going to be willing to drive the trash to a place where we can, like, dump it and hopefully not get in trouble.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess it's one of those things where, once again, it comes back to almost the hustle. You know, we needed those couple $100 more than we needed to pay for trash, because that's what it was, and that was...
Well, yeah, there's that, but then there's also
one of the hustles, but then there's also the people responsible.
But then there's also the people that are like, well, I could go get fucked up at the bar 6 nights a week, or I could pay the trash. There's that. And, you know, and
that's a factor in it.
And there's that the Neverland factor in it. But, you know, the other one that I heard was people were bitching about the Little Cottonwood Canyons out in Utah, because Brighton and Solitude, because it was making congestion and there was no parking.
Yeah.
Well, that's an infrastructure issue that, yes, more people are probably going up into the canyons, but at the same time, it was a good snow year. The other thing is, you're talking it's 1 lane each way.
What do you expect?
That you're literally limited by geography and how to get in there.
You are now you are as fast as your slowest person. If you've ever gone split boarding, you know you're only as fast as your slowest person. And you're only as strong as the weakest link in that sense, too. Like,
but yeah,
if you think of somebody who's never driven in that area and they got an Icon pass and they're from the Midwest and, you know, they're on a rental car, go ahead, buy yourself get in a rental car. See how you feel about, like, driving it around. You aren't used to that vehicle necessarily.
On top of the fact it probably has summer tires. But
more than likely.
You know, I'd be curious because I've never heard anyone bitch at Mammoth that it hurt Mammoth. I haven't heard anyone bitch about Bear. I haven't heard anyone bitch about Squaw and Alpine that it ruined that. All I've heard is that it ruined...
And those are unlimiteds, aren't they?
Yes. Those are unlimited. Copper's unlimited. Steamboat's unlimited when you buy the full... I bought the full unlimited one, so I didn't have to worry about blackouts. I only went to Steamboat 5 times. 5 times with it. And only one day would I consider it crowded, and they got 3 feet of snow, and it took me 2 hours to get there from here, or like 2 hours 15 minutes, and it wasn't even crowded from people driving in from down here or the Front Range. It was just people that had flown in anyways. People were going to go anyways. Like, if it's a good snow year, people are probably going to go there, and if you have a destination resort, get used to it. Like, you got to realize the East Coast, with climate change and everything, is getting less and less snow. Plus, people are starting to realize that they could spend their time, like, oh, an 8-hour plane flight and drive, but then I get 3 good days of riding versus an 8-hour car ride for one day.
And all of these families are savvy to the passes now. Almost none of them are stupid enough to buy day tickets for multiple days now.
Well, there's no reason. Like,
there's truly no reason.
You should buy a season
pass. And that's the reason the Icon and Epic should exist. I don't give a what anyone says about how bad those passes are. It is bringing the sport, which is very limited. I grew up playing hockey, a really expensive sport too. And, you know, I didn't see kids struggling to, you know, get gear. Like, there was maybe 1 or 2 kids that they bought wood sticks. Everybody else had new gear, just like how most of the kids here have new gear. Well, something's new always.
Well, and to go along with that, it's like, you pay, so I put my money down on my Icon, so I'm going to pay like $980 for it.
Yeah.
But let's say I wanted to go to Jackson for 4 days, so there's $400. All right?
Yep.
I want to go to Steamboat for 4 days. There's probably $500 to $600 with that. Copper, $172 for a day ticket? Fuck you, right?
And when these families can afford to go to these places now, that money... You know, maybe a person like me and Avron aren't spending it, but then again, maybe a person like me and Avron are now able to afford to buy the lunch because we are able to go to all of these mountains and, you know, save money by having those passes because, oh, we got days here, we can make this trip and it's ultra efficient. And that is what this sport is about. It's just like how, you know, skateboarding's just the skateboard. That's all you need, and you can make the world your park. And that's the same thing with a snowboard, but the issue is that most people are introduced to snowboarding in the sense of a resort, and they don't know true snowboarding, which is, I wouldn't say split boarding because split boards didn't exist then, but you had to hike up a freaking mountain to go slide down it. Literally grown-up sled.
Well, I mean, let's really be honest about snowboarding. We're a bunch of man-children fucking running around on pieces of wood and plastic sliding down the hill at high rates of speed. Fucking, I'm never going to cure cancer. I know I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is sell you guys a lifestyle and try to get you stoked on something that's really awesome and it has added benefits of health and everything. I will never treat it like a sport. It is a fucking lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that is how I want to package it. The Icon, the Epic, and those multi-resort passes, that gives you a better lifestyle. Like, you never hear anyone bitching about Mountain Collective Pass. Why? Because they only got 2 days there? What? Sorry. Oh, yeah, Mountain Collective. You get 2 days at Jackson. So what? Let's say like 5,000 people with Mountain Collective all showed up at the same time. Are you going to bitch and moan? No.
No.
Like, take their fucking money. Get used to the fact that if you want to survive and you're going to have to adapt. Like, I-70 is the worst fucking highway to drive to get to any ski resort. I have to do it every day to go to Copper. So, I can't tell you how many... like, last week we got a snowstorm and some dumbass fucking spun out and caused an accident in the last canyon right after Officer's Gulch. Luckily, I was sitting right by an on-ramp, and I just made an illegal right turn off the highway and drove down the on-ramp, and I went to a basin because I was just like, fuck it, I'm out. But I have to deal with traffic all the time. Like, Copper, I don't like parking out in the Alpine lot. I have to get a parking pass. That's just the reality of the thing. Like,
I've never heard anyone bitch at fucking Jackson about that. You guys have to take a bus 10 miles in to get to your resort. It's literally worse than Breckenridge, but you guys would probably complain. Probably not, because it's the same. But, I mean, like, how are you going to complain about a couple thousand more people showing up to your mountain?
If that. I want to know what their busiest day, like the number of people that were on there. I guarantee you it's probably less than 10,000.
I know from first-hand accounts that, you know what? I don't give a damn, because these dudes straight up shred. I mean, some of the only people to ride the lines for that year. And the fact that they were able to ride the lines and they were the first ones on it and it was open and they were on the clock tells me all I need to know, that you're complaining about something that you don't even rip hard enough to complain about it. You know?
Okay, so to go
I don't complain about Big Line if I can't hit it.
It's closed. You know, or here. Okay, so here's one for you, right? Everyone's like complaining that all these people are ruining Copper with the icon and all this shit, right? Powder Day last week. I got to the mountain at 10 a.m. I got front row parking still in the chapel lot
at 10.
At 10. I rode the chair with one person the whole fucking day, all day. They reported 10. There was 18 inches on there. I only rode the same run twice, one time. And that was because I knew that I was the first person through it. At 11:30 in the morning. And it had clearly been open by 9:30.
It's like going through the park sometimes at, 9:30, 10 o'clock. You're like, is it open? There's like 3 to 10 tracks through here. Sometimes, and you'll get that on every resort has its amazing powder days and like a whole little segment of its season where really nobody shows up except for the locals.
Yep.
And it's epic out, and you see 50 to 70% of the line is people you know. And people are complaining about that, and that's fine, I understand, but you know what? Like, maybe your other friends aren't in the line anymore because they're out in backcountry, or they're at a different resort. Something I mentioned to the guys up in Jackson was, you guys don't have that many resorts. You got one on the whole other side,
there's
with Grand Targhee,
and
you got Snow King, and that's it.
No, there's 4 resorts in Wyoming, because there's one other little one.
Well, yeah, but in that area, there is
3.
Snow King, Jackson, Targhee.
On the other side.
Yeah. On the other side in Idaho. So it's...
Well, no, it's still Wyoming, but you got to go through it.
Yeah, this is true. You have to go through Idaho.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you have to go through Driggs and Victor.
I mean, it's one of those things where you're going to see an influx because there's only so many mountains to go to. We have Breck, Keystone, Beaver Creek, Vail,
Steamboat, Winter Park,
Copper, Winter Park,
Eldora, Cooper, Aspen.
And that's in a 50-mile range that's less than an hour, the same distance that a drive from Jackson to Targhee can be. Even a drive from Jackson or Wilson to Jackson could take you an hour on the right.
Well, and you know what the funny thing is everyone's blaming Icon, but it's like, okay, why don't we look at Epic then? Has Epic ruined Breckenridge? I don't think so. It's brought more people. What's ruined Breckenridge is a bunch of piss poor town management.
Oh, yes.
I mean, like, that.
You see Aspen as a complete counter to that, where they have accepted that they are a destination resort and they will get these influxes that they can almost not handle. And they've created the tiny living area for employee housing, and they allow for things like that, and they have subsidized housing out there, and all this stuff that makes it so that the town's locals that are running the bars, are running the resorts, can actually keep running and live there and not claw just to survive.
Well, and I think part of it is just it goes back to piss poor town planning and leadership and people. Like, the one thing I've realized with a lot of people that get into town management or on the board or they're mayoral candidates or anything like that is they have some sort of agenda for them and they don't care about the town.
Yep.
And then they also, it always tends to be people that are a little out of touch with the reality and what's going on, and they don't look at other things and like how this is going to affect them. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, Airbnb was not as big a thing as it is now. VRBO was not a big thing, you know. And these companies, you know, they didn't look at it. You know, everyone, you need to be thinking of the bigger picture. Like, what's going on when people are buying second, third homes and they're not renting them? Of course, then you're going to not have as much housing, which means it's going to push people further out, which means you run into these housing crises. And then you also have these people that are willing to do whatever it takes to be there, but they'll work for whatever wage it is. They don't care. And you know,
it's the same thing you see with a contractor beating out a low-level contractor beating out a high-level contractor. That circles back into snowboarding almost, in the sense of if you'll bartend for $14, I'll bartend for $12 because I can make it work.
Yep, exactly. Like, someone will always make it work. It's kind of like someone was trying to say that all ski resort seasonal employees should unionize, and I was like, you don't understand. At that point, you guys unionize, you become too expensive to work there. They'll just hire some dumb fuck off the street because, let's be real, until you get to middle management in certain positions, you don't fucking matter. Anyone can run a chairlift. Anyone can serve in the kitchen. Anyone can be a bartender. No. It's all a series of choices and understanding what's going on out there. Like, you know, do I like the fact that I paid $1,900 a month to rent an apartment? No, I do not. But it is the reality I live in. So you know what that means? I don't have cable television. I haven't had cable television in forever. It means that I pick and choose. I don't have a Netflix account. You know, I pick and choose where I spend my money, like what I spend my money on. I don't eat out 7 nights a week. But at the same time, I'm also stockpiling money because eventually there will be a foreclosure, and I will just be like, whoosh, and swoop in, you know. And also, I've looked at areas outside of where I live because people have been pushed out there. Well, why don't I buy a rental property there? Maybe I will rent long term, but it'll be to someone that I trust or something like that.
Exactly.
And then I can be like, hey, my mortgage is $900. These are all my bills. I'll rent it to you.
You can be transparent through it.
Yeah, I can rent it for $14 and still turn a profit on it and pay my mortgage down and build equity until I can sell that and buy a place where I want to be, you know? And this, it feels like entitlement every time I hear someone bitch and moan about that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, it sucks, but this is reality. You can complain about it or you can do something to fix it. And if you really feel that your town's board is inept, run for mayor, run for village planner, run for it. I can't tell you how many times I've thought about, like, well, I could probably run for mayor.
I think mayor was won with like under 800 votes for the town of Breckenridge.
432.
Yeah.
Is what it won.
People have more Facebook friends than that.
Yep. Like
close ones that they like still talk to. Not like that weirdo from high school that you're like, ugh.
Sounds like there's a story there.
Maybe. But circling back to buying the homes and stuff, with that, you see, it's the same thing with, you say, as hustling. You have, it's probably been how many years of you planning that out even, and then executing.
Yep.
And, you know, it's like you said in your podcast with Kev the other day, it's eating fucking $25 a month.
Yep.
I lived off of, because I was living off of student grants, I was living off of, I think, like $150 a month for everything. Gas, food, whatever I needed. If I had it, it was $150 that month. And it's like, that's one of those things.
Right. For as long as you've known me, have I owned a car?
No. This man has literally not owned a car. And I know another guy like that who, and what allows him to get ahead is he does not pay for a bunch of car shit that other people have to pay for. It's expensive to own a car.
So I didn't own a car for 15 fucking years, and I finally bought a car this year because my time was worth more than the cost. But that's the thing, and it's like, so in 07, 08, when the market crashed up here, there was a guy, I think he's a minister or something, I don't really care, whatever his snake cult is, but he owned a house, he already owned a house, but he had enough money to buy 2 foreclosures. And so he bought 2 foreclosures, and because the economy had tanked, he was renting to locals. It was enough to cover the home, the HOA, and put money in his pocket. Wasn't greedy, but he was enough to do that. And I think he bought like 2 more, and I think one of them is a short term now. But still, it's a hustle. This dude straight up hustled to own multiple properties.
Yeah.
Good for him. Or I've got another friend,
and properties are only the start of it. I mean,
well, I was looking at buying I have been looking at buying a house, but there is a property for sale in Breck that is a retail space, but it's zoned residential retail, and there is a small apartment above it. And I'm like, I can write this off as the
Conoco?
God, I'd love to have some of those condos. I'd love to have that whole complex. But no, the way I was looking at it was like, well, I could live upstairs and write it off on my taxes as an office and put the Angry office down. But the thing that was the clencher was it came with 8 parking spots.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, you better believe I'm putting a meter on them.
Selling those.
Oh, I'm putting a meter on them.
Nice.
I would be like, meter, mine.
And then once you make some money from your meters, you can buy a couple boots to boot the people that won't pay.
Boots are cheap. They're only $50, and they'll fit up to a 20. You can get them to fit up to a 22. I've already looked into it.
Nicely.
I've also looked at just having a boot in my car so I can legally park and put the boot on and just walk away. I'm just going to fuck with a car that's got a boot on it. They're going to be like, oh.
This is true.
They're going to be like, oh, fuck, he got booted.
They did that in some movie. I know they did.
They did. It was in Coyote Ugly. The guy had his own boot, and he would just park wherever he wanted in New York City and just put the boot on it.
Pop it on there.
And it was funny because the girl was like, I think it was Piper Parabo's character, was like, oh, you've been booted. He's like, oh, yeah, that thing, and just picked up and threw it in the back seat and drove away.
Pretty sure he drove an El Camino.
No, he had. It was a convertible.
He
had it was like an old caddy convertible.
Good old Coyote Ugly.
But I think it's funny that season passes everything becomes a scapegoat because no one wants to take a look at what's actually going on and go, oh, okay, this is what the root cause is of this and this and this.
Yes.
And I get it. It's a short-term relief to blame something, but at the same time, like I said, if this had been last year, would you be complaining about the Icon people? You'd be taking their fucking money and being like, thank God they came.
Yeah, all the exec would, and everybody in between would just say, all your locals would be like, you know what, it just seems like another year. I haven't noticed anything until they had their good year, and then they'll blame it. And you know what? If you are complaining about your resort being iconicized or whatever the hashtag is, your resort was probably already on its way.
Oh, yeah.
And most of those resorts are also pretty large. Your Mammoths, your Jacksons, Brightons.
Brighton's not that large.
Well, I'm talking in the sense of like everything around it. The areas around Little Cottonwood Canyon and everything. You could go move to Little Cottonwood Canyon and ride their backcountry for the next 10 years, and you probably won't ride every line.
That's true.
Same goes with that in the Summit County area of Colorado, Jackson, Mammoth area, down there in Tahoe and Squaw where they have it. All of those areas, if it's crowded, you know what? It's not our fault that you haven't hustled and figured out how to make your snowboarding work for you regardless of conditions, regardless of crowding. Make it work, figure it out. I mean...
Oh, it's so funny because everyone's bitching and moaning, but we're having a record year. The last 4 weeks at Copper, it's been fucking dead.
Yeah.
Dead. Like, everyone's
aside from the USASA kids, dead.
Even then, this was the most mellow USASA
Oh, yeah.
I've ever dealt with. I never waited in line. I just kept getting on the chair. I was just like, oh.
Even the park was relatively open.
Like, the section...
Same days of competitions. We finished up with people that'll hit big line. Big line's open from noon on.
Yeah.
I commend them for that.
Literally,
and that sucks for us in Colorado.
Literally, the only chairlift that would remotely have a line during USASA was Union Creek, and even then, It never stopped. It just kept going. But the rest of the mountain, it snowed a couple days, and I just went up high, and there was no one. I remember going out, like, one of the access gates and being like, there's one track. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. What the fuck? And
this was all during 1s and 2s in the world of Abbey Danger, so it's one of those, there's just nobody there, and it comes back to, once again, I just don't think a lot of people, I know some, I'm not going to say, that's why I say a lot of them just haven't set themselves up to be able to go snowboard when it's not great out, or when the crowds suck, you know? If it didn't snow that much, it's probably great to go to pow surfing. You could vacuum press one.
You could fucking just get a block of wood and sand it.
Got a big enough sander.
It's
enough time.
I don't know, man. Yeah, right. That could do it. I don't know. I just think it's funny that people are always looking for a scapegoat, but don't want to look at a solution for themselves. Like I said, if you don't think that your town has your best interest at heart, run for fucking public office. Become a public servant. Do it for the people. Like,
it's ran through my mind with having a tiny home and living in my truck. I mean, you cannot ostracize a whole group of people when, just like he's saying, they aren't looking at the core problem. That is, why are these people deciding to live in their vans and trucks? Well, they're doing this because they can't afford it. So let's make an area that they can live. We can charge them a little bit, because that's all we're mad about as a town, is that we aren't collecting money.
And the other thing about that is, like, see, so I almost put my name in for the raffle for the affordable housing. Yeah, bullshit, it's fucking affordable. Like, a 1-bedroom for $217,000, that's 400 square feet. Like,
same shit in Jackson.
Yeah,
it's completely outrageous.
It's outrageous. Like, I know a guy that's building some here, and I can get in before the lottery, so I could get grandfathered in. He's like, yeah, we'll just get you a 4-bedroom, you know, and then what you do is you put bunk beds in every single room, and you rent them out. And I was like, he's like, but you'd own it. And I was like, but my quality of life would suck. Like, what? Just
to own a house.
And he's like, well, it would only be like $760,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and a 1-car garage. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'll just go buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage in Leadville and rent it. And the extra money I make, I'll use to supplement my rent income, and then I'll work less at one of my jobs.
And shit, by the time it's paid off, you're gonna be in the middle of what is a booming area of Leadville, because at the end of the day, if you're one of those people who is stuck on the outskirts, don't be the guy that's out there paying rent for 10 years. Go figure out how to buy a piece of land. Figure out how to get something that you can live on it. I mean, it's not that difficult to figure out if you're in a position like in Avon where you got a little bit of money saved up and you're starting to think about these things like a grown-up, about how do I set myself up for success in a snowboard industry where the reality is, if you're going to live as a pro, you've got a finite career just like any pro athlete.
Well, yeah, and your window is so small. But here's another one that blows my mind. The people that fucking move here with a whole family, and they're like, it's so expensive. Did you not do any research? Like, do your research. Figure out what you need.
I know a lot of people that do that because my mom's an IT recruiter and she places people all the time, and they're daft to the idea that they need to sublet their apartment because they're moving in a week. It's like, no, yeah, you're going. Like,
well, you let's say you uproot your family of 4. You come out and you move here. I was like, these people came in the one day to the liquor store and they own a business here. Like, they built the building from the ground up, and they're like, why is everything so expensive? The fuck are you asking me this for? Like, you're straight up asking me why everything's so expensive. You just built a fucking building, a restaurant from the ground up. You should have realized really quick that it was a lot more expensive than where you're from in Texas. And you should have realized this, but, you know, they're sitting there and they're like, my personal favorite, do you know how much this costs where I'm from? No, but I'm sure you're going to fucking tell me and I'm still not going to care.
Exactly.
You want to be here, you got to pay to play. Like, believe me, I could pack everything up and go move to Bend, Oregon. It would be way cheaper than living here.
Yes.
I could go live in Driggs, Idaho.
$400.
$400.
You could find a room right now, I bet.
I could probably rent a house. I could probably buy a house for what I'm paying here in rent. Easily. Like, my mortgage payment out there would probably be like $700 a month.
I saw 3 bedrooms for like $120.
Yeah. Maybe I should buy a place there. Fuck. This is where I want to be. It's got the season I want. It's got the mountains I want. It's got the community I want. I'm going to make it work. I'm not going to pack it up. How many times have you met someone that's been here like 1 or 2 seasons and then they just disappear?
And you know what? I have nothing against that. I have nothing against the
failed.
gypsy. Well, yes, the failed moved down to Denver or Boulder or back home person.
Yeah.
That's a sad story always.
No,
they usually haven't figured it out, but the transient wanderer that is let's call him a nomad, if you will, that jumps from resorts to resorts, that's all cool, but that person needs to realize that at some point that is no longer sustainable. And I also have realized personally that that's one of those things that when you are on Instagram for so long, like we are, I would guess most people are spending an hour plus a day on Instagram. I have my reminder set for an hour 45, and I hit it, I would say, 4 of the 7 days of the week. And
I'm lucky if I hit an hour.
When you look at it, you're like, you're watching all these people go to the sickest places and ride the sickest lines, and the POW's here,
or the
park's here.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you start idolizing it and thinking that that's the place to be and that traveling's where it's at. And there's so much to ride in your one little area before you need to move on.
Well, the other thing is, like, the marketing. Like, first off, society as a whole has a whole issue with social media, but the marketing of the lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. If you want to be here, it's a lifestyle. But the thing that blows my mind is, like, seeing resorts lie to people and be like, you will ride 100 days a year. You will, but it'll be like you're going from the top of the mountain to the bottom, your one lap of the day. You're not riding. But they market it like your bottomless POW and endless parties and stuff. And it's not. It's the same bullshit you're dealing with anywhere else. Except it's more expensive, and there's finite resources. There's finite housing. Not now. There used to be finite jobs, but now there's not. There's more jobs than housing. But but it's a lower wage than anywhere else. Like, I'm pretty sure for what I do at the liquor store, if I went to Denver, I would be making 18 to 20 an hour because of how I run things like that.
Oh, if you're managing a liquor store down there, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, I've been an assistant manager for the last 2 years, and I've been my boss's right-hand man. I don't make shit for wages, but I've figured out how to make it work. It was enough to pay for everything I needed and put a little aside while I worked on other things to make me money. But there's this whole packaged lifestyle and like that addiction to social media and everything, and people are like, oh my god, I saw a moose and I saw a fox and I'm gonna move to Breckenridge. Like Tinder is hilarious because I always end up matching with the girls that just moved to town.
Oh gosh.
And their perception
Freshmen.
of what fucking freshmen, they're great until you realize how retarded they are. They're just straight fucking stupid. And their perception of what reality is versus the actuality of it, and they don't get it, and they just think it's this thing. It's like, I was talking to a girl, she's like, is it normal to pay like $1,600 for a 1-bedroom? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, that seems really steep. And I was like, no, that's just
because nobody lives in 1-bedrooms unless they have that kind of dollars.
Yeah, or you get the 1-bedroom and suddenly you got a boyfriend or girlfriend in like 2 weeks and you're living together.
Exactly.
And then mud season hits and you guys are broken up.
Yep.
And it's just so fucked like that. But there's that whole perception, like, yeah, I want to sell you guys a lifestyle, but at the same time, I'm not going to deny what the lifestyle is. Like, I've actually got a top 5 film called The Top 5 Real Truths About Living in a Shred Town. It's fucking dark. Like, I'm going to talk, it's dark. I'm like, that's why I haven't put it out. I was like, this might be a little too dark for the internet. I don't know. Like,
especially if you're doing it.
Well, I also did it when I was in one of my hyper depressive moods from the head injuries. I was in a really dark. Oh yeah, no, I fucking was. It wasn't good. I hadn't gone manic yet, so I was just like, we're gonna go with that one. But and maybe I should put it out. I don't know. I'll leave that comment for all you snowboarders of the internet. Just leave me a comment if you want to see me drop that top 5s. I filmed it like 3 months ago, and I've just sort of looked at it like. I mean, I should do something with it because I filmed it, but I just don't, and this kind of circles back to what we talked about earlier in the podcast with mental health and everything, but living in a place where it's so removed from reality, even though you're experiencing what is your reality.
Super removed from reality.
The best statement I've heard in a long time.
God forbid you hear a negative thing,
Yeah. Well, the best thing I've heard about where we live, or just this applies to just about any shred town, was that Summit County is the white people Wakanda. And I started laughing about that because I was like, well, it's a little better than Neverland, but it's Neverland. Like right now, the people I made friends with when I first moved here, like the ones that are my age, not Andrew's age, because I do have a lot of friends that are younger, but the ones that moved here now, the ones that have made it are now getting married or having kids, and I'm stoked for them. Like, they've figured out careers, they've figured out how to make it work, and they're having families, and they're doing their thing. Or there's the opposite end of the spectrum. They're drinking themselves or doing drugs slowly to death. Like, they're literally smoking foilies and shit, and like they're basically crackheads, and they're addicted to painkillers.
They're functioning crackheads.
They're pretty much it, or they're functioning alcoholics, and like they probably won't make it past 45.
And what's sad is that same person channeled the right way, and this is a call out to anyone who's seen that guy that's a former friend, is you should say something to him, because if he's able to figure out how to survive on the little bit that he has, and he's that bad, then imagine what he can do when you get his mind state shifted the other way, and he can actually start doing constructive stuff with that $10 that he has,
Yeah, well, I
not that that's much.
I've just given up on these people, and I'm like,
oh no, some people have lost cause.
I've gone Ivan Drago. If he does, he does.
Yep,
that's where I'm at. And
I've heard it in sparring a few times. If he bleeds, he bleeds.
Yeah, and if he does, he does. I'm not. It's just sometimes you wonder how these people like survive, but it's a whole other. That's we could deep dive that one.
That could be its whole own podcast.
Yeah,
like I think, actual degenerate snowboarders.
I think like right now, we're probably at the end of this. I think we've gone down a rabbit hole and circled back around. So we're almost 2 hours deep. I don't want to go anymore because that's going to be a lot of editing. So you can follow Andrew on Instagram.
Yep.
Right there. Got his name put up in there, and do that. This was a test, we just wanted to have a conversation. Do you want, for all you snowboarders out there of the internet that are listening or watching, would you like to see me do something more regular with him? I mean, I'm still going to do stuff with Kevin, but we'll do something regular where we have these conversations, where we come in and we talk about these topics. Also, would you like me to try to get other people on to share their opinions and kind of talk about stuff? I mean, there was topics that we really didn't get to that we wanted to get to.
No, and there's one on the tip of my tongue, and I'm just gonna bite my mouth.
Yeah.
Bite the tongue on that one, and I mean, I got some real strong opinions on that, but
yeah, there's always next time. But this is where we're gonna end it because we're 2 hours deep, and so if you're listening to us, that's awesome. We're on Podbean, we're on Stitcher, we're on Google Play. We're still not on iTunes. Appreciate it though if you leave a review, you give us a thumbs up, whatever. If you're watching us on YouTube in one of the segments that I'm gonna cut from this, awesome. Thank you. Leave us comments. Do anything. If you're new around here, just remember to subscribe, click the bell. That way you're getting the notifications if you're on YouTube. If you really want to support us, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. There's a bit of a paywall, but we've got a lot of content hidden behind there. And as always, I've been your host, Avery Lefebvre. This is Andrew Agar, and maybe he'll be back, maybe he won't. This is a test, so you let us know.
let's figure it out, Internet. Am I too weird? Am I just weird enough? Let's figure it out.